100 days into the 2026 Iran war, a regional military conflict has triggered the largest structural economic shock in recorded history. On February 28, a joint U.S.-Israeli decapitation strike targeted and assassinated Iranian leadership, specifically Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Codenamed Operation Epic Fury, the mission involved advanced stealth aircraft and precision-guided munitions, costing millions of dollars in military hardware. Iran's subsequent missile and drone retaliation led to the effective closure and blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. This chokes a vital artery. 25% of global seaborne oil and 20% of the world's LNG trade are now trapped. The blockade has stripped Tehran of nearly $6 billion in revenue, as Iranian crude exports plummeted 89% in just 2 months. Markets reacted with violence. Brent crude spiked 36%, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate futures surged by nearly 50%. That initial strike triggered a first domino, ensuring the energy shockwave would inevitably crash into every other sector of the global economy. Energy shortages map directly onto global agriculture, creating a farming crisis where the price of fuel dictates the price of food. At the center of this is urea, the world's most vital solid nitrogen fertilizer. Manufacturing it requires massive, continuous quantities of natural gas. Because natural gas is scarce, fertilizer prices have risen 31%, fueled largely by a 60% jump in the cost of urea. The World Food Programme now projects that these costs will push 45 million more people into acute food insecurity this year. This energy shock has eroded farmer incomes globally, ensuring that the cost of your basic survival will increase through the next harvest. Rising fuel and food costs are bleeding into the daily budgets of Western consumers, forcing central banks to adjust their interest rate projections. Economic recovery has stalled completely, as U.S. consumer price inflation reached 3.8%, and European inflation jumped to 2.5%. This new data has completely trapped the U.S. Federal Reserve, forcing them to freeze their planned interest rate cuts indefinitely. The European Central Bank faces the exact same paralysis, recently lifting their official inflation outlook for the rest of 2026. As a direct result, mortgage rates have risen for 4 consecutive weeks, placing even further pressure on household wealth. This combination of high inflation and falling global growth, down to 2.8%, has pushed the world into a state of stagflation. While consumers struggle, defense contractors are absorbing $45 billion in emergency funding, and energy giants like Exxon have reached valuations of $643 billion. The war has bifurcated the global economy, creating wealth for defense and energy sectors while systematically reducing the purchasing power of the middle class.
Pulling away from stock charts, we find physical friction and supply chain disruptions continuing on the ground around the world. For U.S. consumers, gas prices have broken the $4 a gallon threshold, the highest level since 2022. This has triggered fuel shortages in the UK and forced Australia to lower its diesel standards just to maintain a baseline supply. Even if a ceasefire is signed tomorrow, the logistical damage to infrastructure and shipping routes cannot be reversed overnight. The new consensus among commodity experts is that oil prices will not return to pre-war levels, establishing a new floor between $80 and $90 a barrel. These 100 days have locked in structural stagflation. Viewers must accept this new reality and rethink their personal financial exposure for the years ahead.